here with a cup of tea. I haven't, well, I kind of tell a lie because I've had a few cups of teas today. But when I'm at home, I've been having coffee a lot more lately. So I've been getting these little sachets of coffee, and I think they're called like New York coffee or something. They're like a 3-in-1. Um, so I've been getting these sachets for quite a while now, and basically, like I say, they're a 3-in-1 sachet. And what I do is I put the sachet in, and then I add just a couple more spoonfuls of sugar, and then I just add a real little tiny bit of milk, and it just makes this most amazing coffee. And even some of my friends have been round, and I've made them a coffee exactly the same, and they've said that it is actually a really, really nice coffee. I've been doing that loads, but I am down to one last sachet and I need to buy some more. So I decided this time I was gonna have a cup of tea and save that sachet for the morning so I can have one in the morning and stuff like that. So, welcome back to another stream. We have some just like general updates today. I've got some little things to announce and some things to talk about that aren't necessarily just gig related, and just a couple of things I want to talk about as a whole, sort of within the stream. So there's a couple of like main things to get through today. There's kind of like two main things, and then I'm just gonna talk a little bit about like production and some other little bits and bobs. So there isn't a mega sort of like reason for streaming. It's there's just a couple of little updates, and I just thought I'd throw the camera on and just waffle to the camera, get through these updates. If people choose to come in live and watch these updates, then that is up to them, or they can watch it after when it stays on the channel. You can decide to do whatever you want to do. So, the first thing I'm gonna talk to you guys about is a new mix series. So, I've wanted to do some form of like a mix series, stroke like a podcast for forever. It's been something that I've always kind of wanted to do, and I kind of was racking my brains about how could I do something that would alternatively be a little bit different to what is kind of already out there. So there's podcasts out there with guest mixers. There's podcasts that do like interviews. There's all kinds of like different podcasts out there. So I kind of thought, how could I do something a little bit different? How could I represent like a mixed series, but also kind of showcase guest DJs and showcase like some guest people, essentially. And then I had this idea that why don't I do like a little parody stroke a spin-off of like a famous like CD series. So, for example, we could have had Ministry of Sound and we could have done Ministry of Bounce, but that was already a thing. About a year ago, I attempted to do like a now that's what I call donk, and somebody had already done like a now that's what I call bounce, and I got like a load of stick for it. People saying like, oh, there's already a now that's what I call bounce, and like that kind of thing. Um, and then I thought, well, there's already a series out there called Donkers, which is just essentially like bonkers, but it's like donk instead of like the hardcore. So then I thought, why don't I do Clubland? Why don't I do something with like the Clubland kind of sort of style? And I know people have done like Clubland bounce mixes before, and people have done like Donkland and stuff like that. And I decided that I was going to do a mix series called Bounceland. So the way it works is it's basically going to be a series of mixes. There will be two mixes in each series, and each mix will consist of 20 tracks. So imagine you buy a CD from back in the day. So normally if you buy a CD, there is around 20 tracks on a disc. Some discs are like 19, some discs go up to 21, but usually on like Clubland CDs, I mean this one that I've got here, Clubland 5, sorry, this actually goes up to 20 on here, so there's 20 tracks on this, and there's usually like a disc 1 and a disc 2. So my mix will represent the disc 1, the guest mix will represent the disc 2, and then there will be artwork that will be made that says Bounceland, that will be somewhat in a similar style to what a Clubland CD would have looked like, and then there'll be another piece of artwork that will look just exactly like something like this, and it would look like it would be the track listing if you would have bought a CD. And then essentially there will be a bunch of playlists that go up on SoundCloud for each sort of series. So Bounceland 1, there'll be a playlist, and there'll be 2 mixes within that playlist, and one will be my mix, which is like the disc 1, and then one will be the guest DJ, which will be like the disc 2. So there's going to be this like series, and they're going to be called Bounceland, and they're just going to go like Bounceland 1, Bounceland 2, Bounceland 3, 4, 5, and each version will just have a guest DJ on it. And then I want to do like some like spin-offs. So I want to do like some Bounceland extreme hardcores, and then we're gonna do like a hardcore series, and we'll do like a spin-off, and then there'll be like some 100% Bounceland and stuff like that, and we'll do some like really cool spin-offs, and they'll have like we'll have some like guest DJs, but like there's some rules that are gonna go within this mix series. So there's a couple of rules that I have. There isn't all too many rules, but there's some very important rules. So I always do the first mix of a series. So I will always essentially be the disc 1. It will always be me. But then there'll be somebody else that will always do like the disc 2, and it will be a different person each time. So that person is not allowed to play a track that has already been played on the series. So say for example, in my version of Mix 1, I play, let's just say, Cheese and Pitch Invader Anthem, and then I have somebody on Bounceland 2 that does the guest mix. They can't play that same track. So basically, the idea is that each mix has to have different tracks on them. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So if, say for example, there was another DJ that had done, or another producer that had done a remix of Anthem, you would be allowed to play that. You just cannot physically play the same version of that track, if that makes sense. You can't play the same remix. You can play a different remix, but you can't play the same remix, because we want each mix to kind of sound as different as possible. The second rule is that you can't play a same producer like just throughout the whole mix. So for example, let's just say for example in your mix you play a track by Kenty. You can't then follow the mix with 3 other tracks that are by Kenty. You have to play different artists in different like for each track. Now you can play the same artist in more than once in a mix. So like you could play DJ Kenty on track 1, and then you could play DJ Kenty again on track 10. You just can't play them like right next to each other, and you can't play them like 5 or 6 times, because it has to be varied. So it has to showcase, the idea is to showcase different people's productions, different people's remixes, different people's bootlegs, different people's styles, all in a 20 track mix, essentially. So they are like the only real rules that people have, like if they come on to like do a guest mix. So you can't just do a guest mix without doing your homework on listening to the previous series, or the previous editions, if you like, or at least having a look at the track listing. And you have to send me the track list, obviously, once you've done the guest mix. And also, I will do the guest mix. I will do my mix before you do yours. That way, I can send you my track list, and then you don't copy any tracks that I am obviously going to play. Because obviously, if we both just randomly did a mix, we might accidentally play the same track. So it's one of them where you have to kind of be a little bit unique in what you're doing, and you have to kind of be sort of like watching what you're doing and what you're playing to make sure that basically you are doing you are being as unique as possible. By all means, play your own productions. That is completely fine. Just like I say, you can't play the same track of yours. You can't play like a track of yours followed by a track of yours followed by a track of yours. It has to be sort of mixed up. So it has to be like a Kenty track, then a Pitch Invader track, then a Scott F track followed by a Marshy track, and then an Axel Gear track, onto a Filter and Effects track. And then you could maybe go back to like one of your tracks or back to a Kenty track, if that kind of makes sense. So the series hasn't launched yet. I've got the first mix down and ready. So my mix has been done, the guest mix has been done, the front artwork has been made, the back artwork is just currently getting made as we speak. So I'm going to be announcing the series on sort of like the beginning of October, and I've got the second edition locked in, as in like I know who the guest is going to be, and I've got the third one also, I know who the guest is going to be, and then it will just essentially be going on from there, and we'll be doing this like little cool series, and hopefully it'll do quite well. And I'm not going to boast, because I'm not the type of person who really likes to do a lot of boasting. But when I recorded the mix for this first edition, out of all the times that I've been recording mixes since I've really sort of took the DJing back on board, this for me has been up there as one of my favourite mixes that I've recorded. I just think, I don't know what it was, but I just feel like I really nailed the tune selection. And the mixing actually wasn't all that bad either, to say that I'm actually suffering at the moment with a little bit of a bad ear. I've got a little bit of a bad ear. This ear's just not been too good. So I've been a little bit struggling just to hear just ever so slightly out of this ear, and it's been affecting me just slightly on the decks. I've been having to certainly listen a little bit more, and it just not always being able to tell whether my tunes are in beat or not, and sometimes just having to have just that one more little just closer listen to try and see. Whereas before I wouldn't really have to do that. So not being the best situation, unfortunately, but I thought I did really well with the mix, to say that I was kind of battling with that. So that is obviously a really, really cool thing. That is absolutely fan dabby dozy. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is Hull Fair 2024. So a lot of you will know that for the past couple of years, I got a very lucky opportunity to DJ on the Waltzers. And since doing that, especially last year, I have had messages after messages. I've gone to raves and events, and people have spoke to me, and they've said, "Are you doing the Waltzers this year? Are you going to be doing the Waltzers this year? Any chance you can get me a slot on the Waltzers? Any chance that, if you know you'll be doing the Waltzers, and if there'll be any slots going?" And I've been messaged about it like mad. Absolutely, just all the time. People asking me and asking me, am I going to be doing the Waltzers? And the truth is I didn't know if I was going to be doing the Waltzers or not. It's not a thing where I sort of like know whether I'm going to do it or not until kind of like nearer the time. and it's not me that organises the DJing on the waltzers. So there's like some DJing that takes place on the Evans Atmosphere Creator. Absolutely amazing waltzer, by the way. It's probably, for me, it's one of my favourite rides at the fair, and I think it puts a lot of the other waltzers to shame. They just do something really good. So anyway, going back to the matter at hand. It's getting close to Hull Fair, and the guy who normally runs sort of puts like does the DJing at the Hull Fair. He sort of put like this general post up again, like who's up for playing this year, blah blah blah. Now, last year I played last year, and there was one night where it was only me that was due to be on the waltzers. It was only me. The guy who normally does like sorts all the music out, he was doing like a football thing or something. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that night. He couldn't do that night. Sorry. So I said to the guy at the waltzer, I said, look, I'll come anyway. I'll be here anyway. I can come and do it. And I can bring some people along with me. So I got some people down to come and do some DJing on the waltzers. And I gave some people like their first sort of experience who had never done it before. And I thought personally it had gone sort of like particularly well. The next day, the person who normally sorts the music is texting me, saying, what happened on there last night. People didn't enjoy it apparently, and I'd heard no physical complaints myself. So it come to this year, and they put a post up, and I was like, look, I'm down and available to play. And then I recommended some people who have been asking me about having a slot and all the rest of it, as you do. And next minute, this lineup comes out. I'm unfortunately I'm not involved in it. So I've not been asked. I've not been invited. I've not been involved this time. I believe all the slots have been filled, and they've ran it with a proper flyer this time, and they've got like a different style of music going on each night. So they've done something really, really good, and I really wish, sort of like the best for them. I hope it goes all well and smoothly. I'll be definitely going down to the ride to have a ride on it myself, and have a listen, and see some of the other DJs in action. However, this does not mean that we are out. It does not mean that we are finished when it comes to Hull Fair 2024. So Friday, I was yet asked again if I was doing the waltzers this year. And I said no, because at this point I knew that I had not been invited to play on these other waltzers. And I thought, all right, I've done it the past 2 years, so I'm happy enough. But I was like, no, I've not been invited to do it this year. And the person I was talking to said, I know somebody else who has another waltzer who is also looking for some DJs who wants a DJ to supply some music on his ride. Blah blah blah. This is a person you need to text. So after the weekend, sort of Sunday, I believe it was Sunday, Monday, I dropped this guy a text message and said, look, friend of mine, put me in touch with you and said, you're after somebody to do some music on the waltzers. And he replied, and he said, I am after a DJ. What sort of music sort of can you play? And I said, well, look, I can play a wide genre of music. I play anything from sort of like bounce to hard house to hardcore to techno to house, to trance. I play a bit of, I can play whatever you want me to play, kind of thing. And I can also, get some other people involved to do some slots as well. If obviously, if obviously, is needed. So the guy said, look, have you got any links to some mixes? So I sent him some mixes over, some links to some SoundClouds, and I did try to vary it up. So I said, well, look, here's a bounce mix, and here's an hard dance mix, and here's an hardcore set. So it wasn't, making it look like, look, I just do donk all the time. Even though I do obviously do donk quite a lot. I obviously sent him them, and he said, nice, thank you. And then he said, look, I'm about to open my ride. Send me your phone number and I'll give you a ring sometime this week. So currently at the moment, I'm awaiting a phone call with this guy on this other waltzer, which, think it could sound quite promising, and I think we could maybe get sort of something going on the waltzer. And I'll be happy to do it. I'll be happy to supply. I love playing on the waltzers. I think it would be really good to get some different people involved as well, and to get some other people involved to do some slots. So we will see what the person comes back with, what the person says, what the person states. If he wants to have me on board, that kind of thing, and we'll go from there, and we'll see what happens. I'm not entirely sure, in all honesty, like what's gonna what's gonna become of it. I don't know. There's always that controversy of I don't want to go into battle with the other waltzers. I've got nothing against the other waltzer. I've played on that for the last 2 years, and I absolutely love it, and I love playing it. And I don't want to kind of go up against the battle as such, but I have an opportunity here to do something, and to be able to sort of run something. And I think it could be a really cool thing, and I think it could take off, and I think, it could be a really, really cool thing. And, it could maybe also mean like some other things for the ride as well, like going to some other fairs with that ride and doing the same thing, not necessarily just being at the Hull fair. So you never know what it could lead to. So I thought it's an opportunity that, I've got to at least just explore that opportunity and kind of see what could happen. Yeah, basically just take it from there and see what happens, basically. So all I know is I'm awaiting a phone call, and if the phone call goes well, then I'll be doing something at the waltzers, this different waltzers. And obviously, once I do, I will be sharing more information regarding that, and I will be doing some other bits and bobs on the other waltzer, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what goes down. So it sounds exciting. It sounds like an opportunity, for me to kind of move on to some other things and do some other things, and who knows, try and branch out the DJ Ash Noble as much as we can. And I've got some ideas in mind already. Like if I do get the opportunity to do something on these waltzers, and something that could maybe potentially be like a yearly thing. We shall see. We shall see what goes down in Chinatown, and we shall take it from there. And whatever goes down is obviously whatever goes down. So that is all absolutely wicked and excited. So that leads me on to the next thing. The next thing is quite a big thing. The next thing could potentially be quite a big change in my life. And that is my job situation. So, for those of you who may or may not know, for just over the past 2 years, I've been working for an organisation called the Goodwin Development Trust, and I've been running a project called the Hull Youth Music Network, and it's been one of my sort of most favourite jobs that I've ever done. I've loved every single moment of it. I love everybody that works there. I just love the building. I love the vibe. I love the people. I love the atmosphere. I just love, I always wake up in the morning and I kind of like, I get excited about going into work and that kind of thing. And while I've been doing this work with the Goodwin Development Trust, I've made connections and I've gone on to do some cool like side projects and volunteer with some other organisations and some other sort of like schemes, and I've gone on to do some really cool things. And one thing that I've done quite a lot of over the past nearly 2 years is I've worked quite closely with an organisation called Gig Buddies, and they're a really cool organisation that basically they try and give opportunities for disabled people to enjoy nightlife. So disabled people and people who feel anxious about going to a gig, they basically pair them up with a buddy, and then they allow then it's like you can go to a gig with your gig buddy, and basically we put on they put on these like sort of like social nights where essentially there's like some live music, there's an open mic, people can come together, people can meet other gig buddies can be paired up and matched, and it's just like a really cool thing. And I've kind of like been very blessed that I've had such a great opportunity to work with these people for the amount of time that I have volunteering, attending all their events, and being a gig buddy myself. And sort of try, just helping out where I can, on that kind of thing. And anyway, a couple of days ago, they put a post up online, and they are actually hiring for a job. They're hiring for a job, a part-time role. A part-time role that is 22.5 hours a week, and basically it's across 2 to 5 days, and it's basically a role that is right up my street. It's doing things that I've kind of already been doing at the moment, like with volunteering with them, and it just sounds like a really fun opportunity in general. So, what does this mean? So, my initial thoughts is I'm going to apply for the job because I think, like I say, I think it's right up my street. I think I'd be a really good candidate for the job. And I think just personally, it will be something that is going to be absolutely fantastic. So the aim is that I'm going to try and do both jobs, but I think it might be a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to try and do both jobs and then kind of see where I am, and then kind of work out like which job is going to serve me more purpose, like which job is going to benefit me more, like, is one job going to pay more, is the other job essentially going to pay more than the other, is it going to be not work, is it going to be just easier for me to get rid of one job, and go back to how I currently am. So I've got a little bit of kind of like planning and sort of working out to do. Of course, that would be if I got the job. So the initial plan is I want to apply for it, and I want to kind of see where it goes. Now, going back to my current job, I love my current job. I love every single minute of my current job. There's nothing as such that has made me like dislike the job and made me think, what, like I want to kind of like leave the job. But I have never, in all honesty, I've never seen the job as a permanent thing. And it's a funded job. My current job is funded. Every so many months, you're always kind of sort of a little bit sort of wondering, like, are you going to get the next pot of funding? Are you going to, is your job going to be safe? Are you even going to be in the job this time next year? And it always kind of plays on your mind. There's always that sort of possibility that they might just not have enough funding to keep you on, and you're going to go into work one day and they're going to say, unfortunately, your funding, is unfortunately going to come to an end, and by, I don't know, the end of March, you're going to be out of a job. So there's always that kind of thing. That is a little bit worrying, and I suppose going into this new job is kind of the same. It's contracted for a year, but then after the year they might not be able to find the funding. So you kind of go into the same boat. But since I've kind of like been doing a lot of the work with the gig buddies and helping them out, I've really kind of felt like that's where I fit in, and that's where I've really enjoyed like doing a lot of my work. Like a lot of my big highlights of everything I've done in this current job has kind of been like when I've gone and volunteered, um, with the gig buddies, and when I've attended like the gig buddies events and stuff. They've been like a really big sort of, for me, a really big enjoyment. And I feel like I've really like been able to like get things out of it, and things that we've obviously done. As I felt like I've had like a real sort of like enjoyment out of it, and like a real achievement for me. So it's been something like where I thought, and I've always wondered like if I could turn that sort of volunteering into a job, like would be like an absolutely amazing thing for me. So now the opportunity has come, I feel like I have to at least apply for the job, because I feel like this is something that I would eventually, like to do. And this would be by no means anything against my current job. I love my current job. I like my current job. I feel so blessed, like it was like a dream come true to get that kind of job and be doing something that has been so influenced. But I kind of always did feel that that job, or my current job, it was kind of like the stepping stone for me to kind of learn what this type of work is about, to then kind of like take that a little bit further and go sort of further into the world of like youth work, and to go into like the world of like youth music, and doing more things. And like I didn't, before I started that job, I didn't know there was this whole thing about like disabled people going to enjoy nightlife, and this whole like big campaign about it. And then I hear about it, and then I like see about it, and then I kind of volunteer with it, and I'm like, this is absolutely brilliant. This is what people need, and this is what, certainly, like somebody who's in a wheelchair who doesn't want to go home at 8 o'clock when the carer clocks off, and they might have, so something the matter with them that means that they're either in a wheelchair, or they can't walk properly or talk properly. But just like us, they'll have songs that they like, they'll have bands and musicians that they want to see, they'll have nightlife that they want to enjoy. And as much as they aren't, and this is not in a harsh way, not like us, they've got things that unfortunately the matter with them. Like they want to try and live a life as normal and as happy as they can. And if that means like going to see concerts and gigs, and having a late night on a Friday night because you're rocking out to a band, then that, so be it. Why should they have to be different? Why should they have to miss out on them kind of things? So I really feel like I get some form of like achievement out of, and comfort out of like just knowing that I'm kind of, in that moment when we're jamming on instruments, and there's an open mic night, and there's people just there that are just out enjoying themselves. And it's like everything, the fact that they're in this chair, or they've got something the matter with them, it's like it just disappears, and they just have this like really kind of like good time, and nothing matters, and it's just them. It's the good vibes, the people, the music, and everybody just having a laugh, and everything being so positive. And it really gives me a good feeling. It really gives me a good feeling inside. So like I say, there's nothing set in stone. All I'm gonna do is apply for the job, and kind of go from there. And like, if I think that the job is, like I think the job would be suitable for me, and I'd really like, and like I hope I get it. And I hope that there's a way that I could work the both jobs. It's just I know my current job that I do at the moment is quite. It can be quite sort of. It can be quite challenging. Like there's a lot of things to do, and there's sometimes like you go in on days that you're not actually in because you go and pick up a camera, or you drop something off, or sometimes like you share, or you promote something online from home, or you finish a document off at home. And it's a lot more sometimes than just doing, like going to the office and doing your office hours, and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking, if I've kind of got all that to kind of do in another job as well, like it could be one of them things where, where like it would be quite hard to do the both. But if there was a way that I could do the both, then by all means I'd love to do the both, because I like the current job I'm in, and a big part of me would never want to leave that job. I feel like everything I've kind of done and built up within that job, the project, it would be like a real shame to kind of like say goodbye to that project. And I'm the only real person that runs the Hull Youth Music Network. So if I left, what would happen to it? Who would run it? Would they apply for some more roles for people to obviously to become a part of this? What would happen in that sense? So there's always that kind of thing, but we're going to apply. If I get lucky with the application, it would be a really really cool thing just to see what happens. So we will see what happens. We shall see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. So of course I'll keep you updated on the progress, on the process, of what goes down and what happens, and we'll take things from there. And quickly, before we do leave off on the stream, my bike. I'll give you a quick bike update. So the bike's all going really smoothly, going really good. I did a stream with the bike yesterday. If you didn't watch that, I do recommend that you go and watch it. Just gave you kind of like a little review of my bike, and kind of what I thought of the bike, and what I like about the bike, and some of the things that obviously I don't like. And I'm no bike expert, and I'm no review expert, but I just kind of give you my opinion after what I think, of the bike after sort of riding it for a week or so. So that was kind of something I did yesterday. But I've been riding it. It always starts up every day. It always sets off. It always rides really nicely on the road. You're connecting. Now we're back live. Yeah, so my Feel This Moment, it dropped live on Excite this morning. By about 10:30, it briefly went into number 10 on the top 10, and then it kind of got knocked out of the charts when I think a track that was in either number 9 or number 8 dropped up to number 10, and it knocked mine out, and we've not gone back into the charts yet. But a few people have bought the track this morning, which has been a really, really good vibe, and have just also reminded me that I need to download a file that somebody sent me. They sent me a file, and they told me essentially that they had bought the track, which was really nice. So, but yeah, let's go. So I'm going to grab the file. So yeah, so that's been really good. So yeah, get the zip. So yeah, so really really good, really positive things coming up. Hopefully, like I say, Hull Fair takes off. The mix series, that should hopefully do well. If you are a DJ yourself and you'd like to get involved, I will be giving people the chance to be a part of this, and showcase, and have a guest mix on there yourselves. So make sure to like, make sure to comment, share. We'll see you soon. And then I need